Facebook is currently working with two anti-gun groups to further restrict firearm discussions on its various pages in a move that will likely lead to the outright censorship of gun topics throughout the social media site. Facebook will accelerate its demise by flirting with gun grabbers. Credit: the US003 flicker after mayors against illegal guns and moms demand action spent the past month pressuring Facebook to censor gun-themed fan pages. The company finally agreed to reconsider its current policies, according to the anti-gun publication VentureBeat. An insider told the publication that the ongoing talks between the gun control groups and Facebook were progressing, and that they have already made agreements yet to be disclosed. Moms Demand Action, which publicly partnered with MAIG in December, began to pressure Facebook last month to change its stance on firearms. The anti-gun group even produced a video meant to shame Facebook for allowing its members to post pictures of and privately sell guns, despite the fact that many such transactions are perfectly legal in the vast majority of states. But the group's attack on gun rights won't stop there. Last month, a New York mayor exposed that the true goal of these organizations is a nationwide gun ban. It did not take long to realize that MAIG's agenda was much more than ridding felons of illegal guns, Poughkeepsie, NY Mayor John Koziak wrote. Under the guise of helping mayors facing a crime and drug epidemic, MAIG intended to promote confiscation of guns from law-abiding citizens. Likewise, the pressure from these groups to force Facebook to censor legal gun sales will only lead to an outright ban on firearm discussions on the social media site. And unfortunately, Facebook already has a long history of censoring pro-liberty statements and banning users who promote basic human freedoms. Last year, Facebook deactivated the Facebook page of a Pennsylvania gun store after the store's owner announced his intent to raffle off an AR-15. Additionally, in late 2012, Facebook suspended at least 20 accounts operated by individuals in alternative media during a 24-hour period, claiming that they violated Facebook policies. The company also banned an image which contained a quote by Mahatma Gandhi explaining how the British disarmed the population during their rule in India. And the social media giant warned InfoWars' own Darren McBreen not to voice his political opinion in 2011, and even deleted the official Alex Jones page over an image of the Gadsden flag in 2010. These aren't isolated incidents. Facebook routinely censors political posts by claiming that they violated its statement of rights and responsibilities. But by also pushing a gun control agenda, Facebook will only accelerate its current decline, as millions of gun owners abandon the social media site. Padre, these are subtleties. We are not concerned with motives, with the higher ethics. We are concerned only with cutting down crime and with relieving the ghastly congestion in our prisons. He will be your true Christian, ready to turn the other cheek, ready to be crucified rather than crucify, sick to the very heart at the thought even of killing a fly. Reclamation. Joy before the angels of God. The point is that it works. A Clockwork Orange, Anthony Burgess, 1962. Fingers pointed like a gun. A Pop-Tart chewed into the shape of a gun. A toy gun. All over America, schools are exercising what they call zero-tolerance policy, to suspend young children packing suggestions of guns. Behind this practice is the idea that populations can be conditioned against owning real guns. Start early, indoctrinate the kids, and society will change. In turn, such thinking rests on the premise that human beings are Pavlovian dogs. Programmed biological machines. If the program currently running is faulty, and fails to obey the mandate of greatest good for the greatest number, change the program. If the brain reveals a chemical imbalance, although no research has even established a baseline for normal balance, insert psychiatric drugs and correct the problem. Maintain surveillance on the entire population, thus convincing millions they may be potential lawbreakers and they will modify their behavior, they will toe the line, they will march straight ahead and keep their mouths shut. As this sort of flawed reasoning expands and spreads, people begin to believe that a model of radical reconstruction is viable and good. For instance, how many people would now respond favorably to the idea that everyone can be programmed to forget guns even exist? How many people would agree to a program that guaranteed racial prejudice would be wiped from human memory? How many people would happily respond to the notion that environmental destruction, as an impulse, could be removed from the brain? How many of these people would even notice that such programs were eliminating freedom? And if they did notice, how many would care? Operant conditioning and mind control could have side effects? What does that mean, if freedom was never real in the first place? A recent opinion piece in the Harvard Crimson, by student Sandra Y. L. Korn, was subtitled, "Let's Give Up on Academic Freedom in Favor of Justice." Korn asserted that academic research promoting oppression should be stopped. Perhaps you can imagine what a university council, convened to define and rule on justice, would look and sound like. Question for consideration by the committee: should university funds for African American left-handed lesbians supersede monies devoted to correcting unequal treatment of differently abled wheelchair-bound Hispanic immigrants, whose parents descend from bloodlines of Spanish conquistadors in the New World? The idea that you can obliterate bad parts of the brain and preserve the good parts is now embedded in standard science. It is childish, absurd, and dangerous to the extreme. Brain researchers are, on the whole, disinterested in the law. They aim to create a new species for whom no laws will be needed. People will do the right thing, because their upgraded brains tell them to. If these researchers and their allies succeed, what we are now calling revolutions will be as Pop-Tarts are to ICBMs. We'll have mass uprisings that will shake the earth. Because when freedom is slipping away, is actually being drained away, and when people know it, in their bones, when they can no longer deny it or sleep through it, they will show exactly how important they think it is. They will no longer believe that all this programming and brain research are aimed at curing illness. They will understand the madness being visited on them. Authorities in Maryland are set to target 110,000 citizens with gun confiscation under a new law that would link the state's gun registry with its criminal database, with new troopers set to be hired to enforce door-to-door visits of illegal gun owners. Maryland State Police complain that there is no way for them to identify gun owners who have been convicted of felonies, meaning they can't check if weapons have been relinquished in accordance with state law. New legislation being considered by the Maryland House of Delegates would allow police to run checks of the state's gun registry against its criminal database at least twice a year at a cost of $300,000 to create the new system. State police estimate that if they link the databases, they would find 10% of registered gun owners. About 110,000 people would be disqualified. They estimate a rate of 1% each year thereafter, reports the Associated Press, adding that 7 new full-time troopers, to investigate findings from the new database, would be hired, with a cost of more than $1 million a year for salaries and equipment. In other words, more armed police would be needed to conduct dangerous door-to-door gun confiscations of the thousands of people that would be snagged under the new law. This smacks of a police state mentality, said Maryland resident Ronald Smith in written testimony, before a hearing on Tuesday. While the law is ostensibly aimed at disarming criminals, we have seen a steady expansion of reasons that are being applied to bar Americans from owning firearms. The law also creates a chilling effect on the Second Amendment, by implying that gun owners are all guilty until proven innocent. Last year we reported on how the United States Navy veteran David A. Schmecker had his guns confiscated by police after a forced psychiatric evaluation despite him having no criminal or psychiatric history. In August 2012, we reported on how a veteran in Ohio had his guns taken, because he was adjudged to be mentally incompetent, despite the fact that his previous VA psychiatric evaluations were all clear, he was not on medication, and he had no criminal record. In February 2012, David Sardi, one of the stars of National Geographic's Doomsday Preppers show, visited his doctor complaining of chest pains, only to have the doctor later commit him to a psychiatric ward and alert authorities, before Sardi was declared mentally defective and put on an FBI list that stripped him of his Second Amendment rights. Maryland's preparations for gun confiscation arrive on the back of a similar showdown in Connecticut, where a vast majority of residents refused to register their assault rifles and high-capacity magazines in accordance with a new law that took effect on January 1. Gun groups are now challenging authorities to either proceed with mass gun confiscation or repeal the law in full.